Hi, my name is Austin, and I don't know anything about Superman. Never seen it. This is my confession. I don't know, what do you want from me? Over the past year, I have watched with a tacit fascination as the online world grappled with the pending arrival of director James Gunn's Superman, the first entry in the newly relaunched DC cinematic universe. The discourse around this movie is, in my opinion, like everything wrong with the current state of movie culture, with takes that are needlessly pedantic, inflammatory, drama bait, with the occasional absurd notion that this movie will either save the entire superhero genre or be the final nail in its coffin. Adding to the controversy is this sort of proxy civil war between fans of James Gunn's new stylistic vision and loyalists to director Zack Snyder's earlier take on the character. From what I've been able to gather, the Snyderverse was a darker, moodier, possibly more violent take than what Gunn's version is being advertised as. For some folks, I understand that this tonal shift is a form of cinematic heresy. Perhaps like me, your social media feeds have been filled with these sort of us versus them clickbait videos and blog posts. Personally, I find the whole thing, frankly, exhausting. Maybe I have just reached a certain age where I can't imagine caring enough about a single 2-hour popcorn movie to devote my entire personality to either attacking it or defending it. I really have kind of grown to hate how movie discourse these days is just digging trenches around the most extreme takes or opinions with no room at all for nuance, where stay-at-home YouTubers can literally spend upwards of 2 hours picking apart a 2-minute movie trailer, going frame by frame, hunting for supposed flaws to justify their disdain, and that somehow that's just like an actual career path now. I guess this is the state of cinema in 2025. We no longer even wait for the movie to start shooting before we decide whether or not it's going to be a flop. Anyway, enough bloviating. I'm here today to hopefully offer you something different, a take on the summer's big blockbuster with absolutely no ulterior motives attached, because I am going into Superman blind. As in, I don't know the first thing about Superman. I know, how did I ever make it this far in life? I haven't seen Man of Steel or any of the other Superman movies. I have not seen any of the TV shows. I have not read any Superman comic books. I haven't even watched a single second of any trailer footage from this new movie. Contrary to most of the YouTube reviews that you will probably click on about this movie, I have no vested interest at all in either liking or disliking this flick. I am a true layperson, someone who can maybe offer the perspective of the average, everyday, casual moviegoer. Maybe you are in the same boat as me and you just want a review of the movie without all this weird stuff that everyone keeps fighting about. Maybe you are a huge Superman fan and you are interested in an outsider's perspective. Here you go. So everything that I think that I know about the Superman franchise has basically just come to me through cultural osmosis. I've picked up things here or there based on watching other DC adjacent stuff. I know he's basically generic do-good guy. He's got X-ray vision, laser eyes, super strength, and he can fly, obviously. I have like very vague recollections of watching the old Max Fleischer Superman cartoons when I was really little. I know that Superman is like an alien from the planet Krypton, I think is what it's called, and that he's allergic to something called kryptonite, which is like a green glowy rock that makes him super weak or something. I know that his human name is Clark Kent. I know that he works at the Daily Bugle. And I know that he's got a crush on a gal named Lois Lane. Also that he has a dog. I know that lore has something to do with I want to say like an ice planet. Oh, and the bad guy. The bad guy is this bald billionaire named Lex Luthor. Also Marlon Brando has something to do with it. I think. So after I watch this movie and I report back with how I liked it, obviously I'm going to get some details about the lore wrong. Sorry. If Superman is like your religion, try not to take it as a personal offense. I'm not here to tell you whether I think 2025's Superman is a good Superman movie. All I can tell you is whether I think 2025 Superman is a good movie. Does that make sense? Here's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking really for anything earth-shattering or groundbreaking. I think of these popcorn tentpole movies as if they are like $20 roller coaster rides. Will they entertain me over the course of their runtime with a serviceable story, some good performances, and a few solid action sequences? My two biggest demands of a tentpole movie, they're pretty simple. Number one, don't bore me, and number two, don't annoy me. Does it meet those demands? Let's go see. Okay, I just got out of the theater. It was fine. Honestly, I don't know why everyone was being so stinking weird about this movie. It's not trying to reinvent the wheel. It's not deconstructing the genre or anything. It's just trying to be what it is, which is a fun, if overly earnest superhero movie. And I think that that's kind of what I loved most about it. It's big and it's loud and it's whimsical. It was refreshingly optimistic, but also in another sense, like unapologetically corny. As a Superman newcomer, I was a bit worried that I would be completely lost plot-wise. I was actually pleasantly surprised at how easy it was to just jump right into it. I'll keep it mostly spoiler-free. Most of the stuff you find out within the first 3 minutes, or you might already know already from looking at previews. I don't know. The movie smartly sidesteps the whole superhero origin story. In fact, it somewhat boldly starts about 3 years into a fully established universe where multiple superheroes have already been active. I know basically like none of these characters, but I didn't feel lost, which I think was a relief. Honestly, I think the opening was my favorite part. It has this great retro Flash Gordon-esque intro text that just catches you up to speed as to where we're at in the story, and then it just drops you right into things. Here's the good guys, here's the bad guys. All right, we're off to the races. Let's talk about the characters. First, Superman himself. I found him quite charming and unapologetically wholesome. Almost to a fault. The character definitely comes off as a walking, talking cliche. Honestly, half the time I expected him to just look into the camera lens and go, "Ah, shucks," before like launching into flight. Much like the rest of this movie, it actually comes off as sort of like a celebration of the do-gooder comic book hero rather than a heavy examination or critique of it. Lois Lane acts as our sort of narrative bridge to ground our larger-than-life hero in the real world. There's an early scene in the movie where she interviews Superman, and I think this might be the standout sequence of the whole picture. It's smartly written, thoughtfully exploring how a classic pure-hearted superhero can realistically navigate today's complicated cultural landscape. It touches on everything from geopolitical complications to moral authority, even finding time somehow to fit in a quick commentary on the fickle nature of social media celebrity. The whole scene could have come off as heavy-handed and preachy, but the chemistry between the two actors made it feel fun, and the dialogue refreshingly natural. Then we get to Lex Luthor, played by the dude who was Beast in the new X-Men flicks. By the way, I know none of these actors' names, and at this point in the day, I am just too tired to look any of them up. I genuinely cannot decide if Lex Luthor is the best part of this movie or the worst part of this movie. Hats off to the actor. He definitely plays the role earnestly, I'll say that. He struts around giving ridiculously over-the-top monologues about things like pocket dimensions, cybernetic nanites, and all kinds of comic book zaniness. But I appreciated that it's not like Jim Carrey tongue-in-cheek, wink-wink, nudge-nudge, chewing the scenery kind of thing. He just plays it serious, as ridiculous a role as it is. It's a bit overly diabolical at some points. There's a specific point in this movie where he is dramatically walking through a prison and revealing his master plan to Superman. The exposition is like so close to Dr. Evil territory that it almost lost me. Like, it almost pulled me out of the whole thing. But most of the film straddles this like razor thin line between being a heartwarming cheesiness and an eye-rolling cheesiness. Like, it never falls on either side of the fence. You can kind of make the argument that at times Superman 2025 comes very close to like a parody of the superhero genre. It is full of over-the-top cliches and tropes, but I think it still works, because even when it pushes right up against being just a bit too silly or overly earnest, it keeps its heart on its sleeve and it errs on the side of being fun, not funny. There's a difference, trust me. It's only hitting me now how no one actor really stood out as a star of this movie. Nobody's like trying to be the next Heath Ledger Joker. Not saying anybody's bad, I'm just saying that they don't try and like overshadow the overall story. The cast seems much more interested in just doing their tiny part to create a solid film greater than the sum of its parts. The only real standout performance, to me at least, was ironically the dog. Yes, Superman does have a dog, and he is in this movie a lot. Crypto is his name-o. He comes dangerously close to stealing the show, really. Although I must confess, I kind of wonder after watching the movie just how much of that dog was even real. I have a sneaking suspicion that the vast majority of the time that it's on screen, we're just looking at a digital double. But it's still impressive, for sure. There's still, each scene I was like, is that a real dog? So definitely hats off to the team that worked on that. I was really surprised at just how much this story leans on Crypto. He is like a major character in the movie. He elicits some of the film's strongest emotional moments. It's a fun gimmick. It totally works in this movie, but I think it is a gimmick that you can't go back to for future installments or sequels without it like drifting into Baby Yoda territory and just becoming stale. On the action front, things looked great. The CGI is still a bit rubbery. It's getting better, but there's still that little tinge of it here and there. There are definitely some inspired cinematography choices in the action, especially during flying scenes and fights. Gunn utilizes a ton of these wide-angle, almost fisheye lens perspectives that definitely immerse you in the middle of the chaos. Yes, there are still the classic over-the-top explosions and city destruction, but it's relatively tame for a big tentpole movie and never feels narratively forced. I was also very relieved at the dialogue. Thankfully, it does not devolve into the Marvel-style constant quips and meta-textual commentary thing they do, where each character sounds like they hate being in the movie. I can't stand it. Superman 2025 has several try-hard, funny moments, sure, but in a more earnest way than we typically see. Characters acknowledge the absurdity of living in this superhero world, but it never really feels like they're winking directly at the audience. That restraint was, to me at least, greatly appreciated, and I cannot stress enough just how much I appreciated that this movie is only 2 hours long. I am so tired of these long drawn out blockbusters that are like 2 hours and 45 minutes and they just go on and on forever. This movie gets to what you feel like is the ending and it just wraps up. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's like, here's the movie, here's the adventure, hope you had fun, see ya. Now, having said all that, and trying my best to not let recency bias affect my thinking, it's not a particularly groundbreaking movie, more like a solid flex of how we have learned to tell these kinds of stories over the past few decades of the superhero genre. For sure, never once in those 2 hours that I was watching did I ever really feel like any of the major characters were in any kind of danger. I was never really on the edge of my seat wondering what was going to happen next. But as a popcorn movie roller coaster, it hits the mark, and I think it sets like a solid baseline for the next generation of DC films. Was the movie flawless? No, not by a long shot. I think the enjoyment of this particular movie is like directly proportional to the number of people that are in the audience. It ain't high art, it's not deep cinema, it's not trying to be any of those things. It's a sincere, if simplistic, celebration of heroism, and might be just the sort of feel-good movie that folks will want to watch this summer. However, I reserve the right to change my mind. These are my initial thoughts, but I'm gonna chew on it for a little bit. I know with internet discourse, it's fun to pick a side and become a crusader for unconditional love or unconditional hate of a particular franchise or a particular director. I am almost certain that I will receive comments from such keyboard warriors in this video informing me that my takes are mid or milquetoast, and my response to that is mostly, yeah, it's a movie. You're gonna watch a lot of them over the course of your life. They come in all shapes and sizes. They don't all have to be the greatest or the worst thing ever. It can just be a fun watch. Sorry. There's definitely some stuff I'd like to get deeper into, like the inclusion of certain side characters, but I can't really do so without getting into heavy spoilers. Maybe another time. For sure, I now want to sit down and finally watch Man of Steel so I can experience what the Snyderverse is all about and whether or not I prefer it to this latest iteration. Maybe I'll make a video in the future about which take I prefer and why, assuming of course you all would be interested in watching it. If not, I will make a video about something else, I guess. I make a lot of them. Either way, I can almost guarantee I'll be encouraging you to build a website with this video's sponsor, Squarespace. They have everything you need to build an online presence thanks to their all-new design intelligence, giving you access to easy-to-use tools so that you can build a site that feels uniquely you, no coding required. Whether you want to showcase your art, stories, or business, they've got you covered. If you want to start a podcast, they make it easy with audio blocks. Plus, you can sell stuff from courses to videos to music or memberships. You can get started today by going to squarespace.com and starting a free trial. When you're ready to launch your site in full, head over to squarespace.com/Austin McConnell and I can save you 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain. Hey, did you know that I'm working on a superhero universe of my own? You can learn about it here or watch any of my other highly entertaining videos. Honestly, they're pretty good. Just click on another one.